Bismillah'ir Rahmaan'ir, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Rahmaan'ir Rahiim, Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
History of the Saints of the Golden Chain. Number 10. Abul Abbas, al-Khidr. Whoever enters the way without a guide will take 100 years to travel a 2-day journey. The Prophet said, "In this way you have no more faithful companions than your works." How can these works and this earning in the way of righteousness be accomplished without a master, O Father? Can you practice the meanest profession in the world without a master's guidance? Whoever undertakes a profession without a master becomes the laughingstock of city and town. Rumi, Masnavi. Abul Abbas, Khidr, whom God mentioned in the Holy Quran, Quran chapter 18 verse 65, is the one who met with the Prophet Moses. He preserved and maintained the reality of the golden chain until the next link in the chain, Abdul Khalik, could assume his destined station. Bukhari relates in the Book of Prophets that the Prophet said, "Khidr, the green man, was so named because he sat on a barren white land once, after which it turned luxuriantly green with vegetation." The important role of Khidr as the initiator of saints may be illustrated by the importance of his role as the initiator of prophets, particularly of the prophet Moses. Moses was a powerful prophet, one of the 5 greatest God sent to this world: Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. Yet even with the depth of knowledge of Moses, God caused him to be in the need of Khidr, even though Khidr was not a prophet. This is to teach us, as God said in the Holy Quran, that above every knower there is a greater knower. Quran chapter 12 verse 76. The story of Moses' encounter with Khidr is related in the Quran, Quran chapter 18 verses 65 through 82. Following is a paraphrase and commentary on the story. Moses and his servant found one of God's servants whom God had honored uniquely and had taught knowledge from his own presence. Moses asked him, "May I accompany you?" He answered him, "You cannot bear to accompany me." Moses was surprised and insisted he could. Khidr said, "You cannot, but if you do not ask about what I am doing until I speak to you about it." This means that Khidr was going to do something that Moses would not understand. Although he was the messenger of a great religion, he was in need of Khidr to teach him something. They took a boat to cross a river. When they were in the middle of the river, Khidr made a hole in the boat. Moses was unable to keep quiet. "Why are you doing this strange thing? Those people gave you the boat, and now you are scuttling it." Khidr replied, "Did I not tell you that you are unable to bear with me patiently?" Moses had not yet understood, even though he was a prophet and could read hearts, that there was something he did not know. They continued and found a young boy. As soon as they saw him, Khidr killed him. Moses said, "What are you doing? Have you slain an innocent child? This is against all laws." Again, Khidr said, "Did I not tell you that you could not keep company with me? The third time you ask me, we will part ways." Then they reached a city where they asked for food. No one gave them any food or hospitality. On their way out, they found a wall about to fall down. Khidr rebuilt the wall and made it straight. Moses said, "Surely you could have exacted some recompense for this work." Khidr said, "This is the point where we separate, for you did not understand the wisdom of what I was doing. O Moses, what we do is what God tells us to do. First, I rendered the boat useless because there is a tyrant who is taking every boat from the poor people on this side of the river. That tyrant is going to die tomorrow, and tomorrow they can repair their boat and use it safely. I killed the child because God did not want that child to cause his parents, who believe in you, to despair and leave your religion. God will give them better children than him. I repaired the wall which belonged to a man who was in life very generous to the poor. When he passed away, he left a treasure buried under the wall for his 2 orphans. Were that wall to come down, people would see the treasure and take it. I rebuilt it in order that the 2 children get their treasure later. You did not understand God's wisdom." Here we see that even Moses, with all the honor bestowed on him by God, found himself ignorant before Khidr. How can we, who know so little in comparison to Moses, consider ourselves knowledgeable? Moses himself, with all his knowledge and divine presence, was unable to understand certain things. This is a lesson in humility for human beings, and particularly for scholars and religious leaders. It means our knowledge is not worth mentioning. There are always others more knowledgeable than we. As high or as deep as we travel into knowledge, there is a deeper depth and a higher height than where we stand. For this reason, when someone sits to give advice, he must sit with complete humbleness and complete respect for the listeners, and he cannot consider himself higher than them, otherwise light will never come to their hearts. Everyone is in need of a guide, as was shown by the guide of guides himself, the Prophet, when he took Gabriel as a guide for revelation, and when he took a guide in traveling to Medina. This is how Ibn Arabi in Fusus al-Hikam explains the 3 acts of Khidr witnessed by Moses. Moses was tested by many ordeals. Quran chapter 20, verse 40. The first of which was the murder of the Egyptian. Quran chapter 28, verse 15. An act which he committed by divine impulsion and with the approbation of God deep inside him, without, however, his perceiving it. Nevertheless, he felt no affliction in his soul for having killed the Egyptian, although he himself was not acquitted until he had received a divine revelation on the subject. For all prophets are interiorly preserved from sin without their being conscious of it, even before they are warned by inspiration. It is for that reason that Khidr showed him the putting to death of the boy, an act for which Moses reproached him, without remembering his murder of the Egyptian. Upon which Khidr said to him, I have not done it by my own initiative, recalling thus to Moses the state in which he, the latter, found himself when he did not yet know that he was essentially preserved from all action contrary to the divine order. He showed him also the perforation of the boat, apparently made to destroy the people, but which has, however, the hidden sense of saving them from the hand of a violent man. He showed this to him as an analogy to the ark which hid Moses when he was thrown into the Nile. According to appearances, this act was equally to destroy him, but according to the hidden sense it was to save him. Again, his mother had done that for fear of the violent man, in this case Pharaoh, so that he would not cruelly kill the child. Moses arrived then at Madian. There he met the two girls, and for them drew water from the well without asking from them a salary. Then he withdrew to the shade, that is to say, the divine shadow, and said, O my Lord, truly am I in need of any good thou dost send me. Quran, chapter 28, verse 24. He attributed then to God alone the essence of the good that he did, and qualified himself as poor towards God. It was for that reason that Khidr reconstructed before him the crumbling wall without asking for a salary for his work, for which Moses reprimanded him, until Khidr reminded him of his action of drawing water without asking for reward, and other things too, of which there is no mention in the Quran. The Prophet regretted that Moses did not keep quiet, and did not remain with Khidr, so that God could tell him more of their actions. According to Ibn Arabi, Khidr said to Sahel al-Tustari, God created the light of Muhammad from his light. This light stayed before God for 100,000 years. God directed his gaze upon it 70,000 times every day and night, adding to it a new light from his light every time. Then, from that light, he created all creations. When the Prophet left this world, and condolence came, they heard a voice from the corner of the house saying, Peace, God's mercy and blessings be upon you, members of the family of the Prophet. Ali then asked if they knew who this was, and he said it was Khidr.